Hello, all, and welcome to this episode of Conversations That Matter from Paradiso Integrale here in Umbria, Italy. Next to me here is my motivator and muse, my teacher and taskmaster for these weekly live talks, Heidi Herrlein. And next to her is me, Mark Davenport. Okay. Now, just before we meet this week's fascinating guests, all right, Heidi will let you know how to get the most out of watching and participating in the show this morning, today.
It's always the same, actually. This is the website where we are streaming from, in case you are on YouTube. We won't get the comments there, but if you go to thewisdomfactory.net/live-streaming, you will be directed to our webpage, and our guest is
Elena Urbanovsky, very unique guest. So before we describe you, before we tell any lies about you, just say hello, Elena. Okay.
Hello.
Right.
I'm very, very glad. I'm very, very glad to be with you both.
And we're really happy
wants
to have
to
you.
unfold.
after some time we didn't see each other anymore.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. But we've known Elena for a few years now. You longer than me. And she's been with us here in Paradiso Integrale a few times as a group member, as a co-facilitator for other groups, as an escapee from normal life, and someone we've come to treasure as a friend. A life artist she is. And she is also a great smiler, perhaps you can tell. She was born in Germany. She spent considerable time in Slovakia, where her 2 children were born, and with her husband is now pioneering a new life in Norway. And not to forget, she has learned quite a bit in her sometimes turbulent life. Okay. And she just wrote a book. I'm sure we'll hear more about that.
And the title at the moment, it seems to be, is Unspeakable, A Journey into the Unbroken Heart.
Yeah.
Elena, welcome to this episode, and we will talk about the broken heart, the unbroken heart, and the journey of a woman unbroken heart. As you know, there is a lot of fuss about now about women and being victims of whatever. And I know you have a very, how do you say, a very decisive idea about victimism and about women. And I just would like you to talk a little bit about that. I want to begin. It's fine.
Yeah, thank you for this question, Heidi. I have named the title before, or it's still my actual one, is Unspeakable, of Death and Rebirth, Transforming the Feminine Story of Victimhood. And for me, generally, victimism is when we make others or situation or our past our inner state. So that means we give the responsibility away to somebody else, to a situation, to something else, which is responsible for our inner state, for our inner world.
Oh, Elena, you are breaking. I don't hear you anymore.
Okay.
Okay, here you are back. Okay, good.
Basically, if I make somebody else, something else responsible for how I feel, is the essence of what I understood under victimhood or victimism.
And that's very common, no? That we say, you make me feel sad, you make me feel I don't know what. So how was it for you? Do you know this situation? I think you do. So what made you work into that?
of course, I know this situation. Still, I know it almost daily, but I notice the movement. And when I shift my attention from my inner self, itself, and I judge. Notice that self, I breathe and I feel wants to be felt, because I think most of the time aim or we judge want to feel what is inside of us.
Mm-hmm.
Know this consciously, I can make of direction almost immediately now.
Yeah, so it's practically learning yourself better, learning what you are doing. But before we continue, can you downgrade your quality again, because sometimes you are breaking up, and it would be good if we had your audio fine. On top, you know,
But default.
Just put it near the cogwheel.
Yeah, moment. So I basically cannot change anything because I have just the camera and the speaking.
Oh, that's strange. Oh. Okay, maybe another glitch. So speak slowly, so in case some syllable is missing, that we can reconstruct what you are saying. Okay?
We'll do that, yeah.
Yes, speak slowly because my brain works slowly, okay?
Yes, I do that.
Well, this has been quite a trip for you, I'm quite sure, you know, because we've known you in good times and not so good times, and you seem to be doing quite well. So what were the big points along the way?
So 2013, I emotional breakdown. That meant suddenly out of nowhere, cry, and I just couldn't find my way. And of course, my crying was not anything what happened in the outside. I started a deep inquiry. In this time, we started to live in Norway. Friends in Germany, always working with. So I went into Germany in my breakdown. I lived another half a year in Germany, and in this time I started a relationship with a man. To this man, I just needed to run away from this situation because I even broke further down, and I just absolutely didn't know and what was with me. So they, you have to go to some where you get help, where you get, and I basically always have felt, no, I just have to be alone. I am, but the only thing what I really know, I have to be alone. I went back to Norway. I escaped from this relationship because it was going down a way which I felt was not good for me. Completely down in Norway. I was laid on the ground, I think for almost 3 months. I felt my body and I felt what wanted to go through my body. The North Star guiding light which I had was a sentence which I got from a healing woman. She said to me, feel everything avoided to feel. When I came back to Norway, I laid on the ground. I couldn't talk about my kids or about my daily life. And I'm very thankful for that. And I just surrendered. Every day I laid, I had pain, whatever strange energies going through me, laid and needed, because I didn't have any ground within myself. I did outside of myself, and it was the floor. Floor, in and day out, for around 3 months. I say it in the book, till something started to stand up again, which was before. I couldn't see people. I just couldn't have social contact. I just felt I have to feel. The way out of this breakdown was surrendering to whatever I felt, and it was definitely not nice things which I felt. Name it. I could name it. Could name it anger. I could name it guilt. And with me, who supported me in feeling what I wanted to feel. The more I felt, the more conscious I got. The more I could observe and name the energies, the more I could find the place in myself what I was going through. So the more I felt, the less I was identified with what I felt.
Mm-hmm.
The more I did this, I got about what I felt, even the smallest. And when I look now, I would say I know every part of my body, almost empty of, they come and they go, and I can name them, I can become aware about them, I can witness them, and they come and they go, and I'm not anymore identified, neither with my emotions, not with my thoughts. It was around 3.5 years, very intense. It was less intense and less intense. And I think at the beginning of last year, in spring, I started to people to find out how I speak now, or who I am in contact with people, but very, very, very slowly. I'm fine. Yeah, I can smile.
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
So your book, when you sent it to me, it's talking about this journey.
Yeah.
And what I'm really was fascinated by was not so much the description as of the processes, but of what you have written in form, let's say, of poetry, because this gave, for me, more a feel of what really has happened. Describing it from outside, yeah, okay, but when you really see that, so, and we have a lot of your poetry here on the screen, and I wonder, is it all right for you when none of that?
Yeah, that's completely fine. I just want to maybe make a short framing for the book. So the book is about description, about my story. The big part of it are the poems, and the poems are really written to the emotional experience as possible. And sometimes I had even the feeling things through me, flow, what wanted to come out, and not always speaking about nice things, but I think is that it touches people. Really, thank you to read one of them.
Oh, yeah.
You know, unfortunately, you are breaking up a lot, and so I thought we give a bit of an impression of what you have written, and you read it, okay, and then we hope that something gets better in the internet. until we have done that. So
Yeah.
I do a short screen share. And we also have to say, you said that for you, not only the poetry was important, but using colors, doing pictures. And you have done several pictures. And one is in the website, is the cover of the book. And I will now begin to share with you the other one, which is right in front of the poem, which is called Shame.
Shame. Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's it. I hope we can see that. I will white box me so we can see that. So this is the color play. And Elena, this is the heart, isn't it?
This is the heart.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
With this little yellow light
Yeah.
in the middle. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
if you see it, you can really imagine the tumult.
Yes.
Tumult of what is going on in this heart, no? With all these colors. Wonderful. So I scroll down and Mark is reading.
Yeah. Excuse me. I chose this one because shame is kind of a problematic emotion for me. And so I was happy to see somebody else had some trouble with it too. And anyway,
just a minute.
Let's go.
I want you
get really
to
big
be,
print here. Okay?
Yeah, to be you on the
on
the screen. Okay,
yeah.
So here we are.
All right. Shame. Shame doesn't like to be called by its name. It likes to stay secret and hidden, to control life. It likes the dark corner in my being where fear is its guardian. Many names. It is the feeling hiding my weakness. It is the remembrance that I was not strong enough to avoid the hurt. It is a feeling hiding the wounds so that they will never see the light of day again, so that I will never be free. It is the feeling hiding the flaws, the human imperfections, which I judge unlovable. It is the feeling hiding the life experiences which I don't want to remember. It is the feeling hiding my deepest longings, which have brought me into trouble not only one time. It is a feeling hiding the moment when I expressed and people laughed about me. It is a feeling which lets me run away in moments when somebody could see that which I want to hide. It is the feeling which lets me turn away in moments when was my experience. It is a feeling which lets me leave another before he could see me fully. It is a feeling which arises in moments of possible intimacy. It is a feeling which appears when somebody loves me unconditionally. It is a feeling which feels insurmountable and leaves me without speech. It is a voice which is never spoken, never sung. It is the dance never expressed and the picture never painted. It is the love never allowed to enter, and it is the prison of the past. The moment will come when the longing is bigger than the fear, and I allow somebody or something to touch me deeper than ever before. It can be even a heartbreak. This crack is the beginning of the end. Light begins to find its way through. I'm invited to open my heart. I start to feel I have the courage. Life begins.
Thank you, Mark.
Oh, no, thank you. I just read it. You wrote it. Yeah.
It's the first time that I heard somebody.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, good. There's many more I could read, but not tonight. No.
Ah.
So
we were talking about this victimization, which we as women have so, how can I say, so it's so naturally that we feel victims of everything and everybody. And in some way it's true, because I haven't had children, but you have had children, and you are sort of the victim of the moment. You cannot really choose what will happen when the birth comes, but that doesn't mean that we have to transport it to people, that they are responsible for our state. So
what do you mean? If it wasn't for you, I'd be completely happy.
Yeah, exactly. We
Sure.
always say, oh, if he wasn't like this, we would be happy or something.
Yeah.
So to take it out to the others, which seems to be very fashionable at the moment. And we both met in a course which was called Feminine Power, and where I really understood that that's not the way. That by being a victim, by feeling in yourself feelings which you think somebody else is pushing onto you, you give your power away to the other person. So the other person can decide how you feel. Oh, if that was so, I could decide to make him happy, Come on, be happy.
Yes, please. Come.
Nobody thinks that. But when it is about bad feelings, oh, you make me feel really, I'm so angry because you, all this stuff, So the long introduction is how we worked together on this already before, but how was it for you that you felt that you had to go even deeper, that it was not enough what we had already done, and it was quite a bit. So
yeah, realized that I had to go deeper. I had no between a feeling anybody else who was there.
Can you repeat? That was broken up.
Yeah, I didn't. It became really burning. Have a framework within myself to differentiate. I was completely. There was no one else at the beginning. Ocean was all encompassing my whole body. At this point, because I didn't know the next moment. Or I did that. Else, the witness consciousness awoke.
Mm-hmm.
What was present with the emotion.
Elena, I would suggest that you take off your video camera. I hope you can do that here on top, because it's still.
Yeah, a moment.
Mm-hmm. It's better we hear you than we see you. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Is it?
Seems to be
we
better.
can. Yeah. So, as I say, I was my emotion 100%.
Mm-hmm.
For some time, all the pain or whatever I could see just as energy patterns more than name it. And the longer I practiced that, the witness stood up in me. Speak about victimization. I had to acknowledge this part in me, victimized part in me. Then later, it was not I fully. So it was the girl which had experienced abuse in the childhood, which was still emotionally, and these emotions were not felt. So they were encapsulated, frozen, and they started to release in the process. Acknowledge this part in me which felt victimized, knowing that it's not me. There's also there was the witness present, and then also the adult woman team was also present. So I had all these three components. But for a long time, it was more the witness and the different stages of childhood or adolescence. Could again reconnect with the adult woman. So this whole process, the more I did it and the more I surrendered and accepted, love woke up in my heart. So through this acceptance, I felt that I become more and more self-loving. And with this self-love, I could build up more and more also an inner capacity of self-responsibility. But the biggest shift in me was when I recognized I came out of an abusive relationship, and I blamed him, and I noticed I will never ever be free if I continue blaming another human being for anything. So at this moment, I was asking the question, how did I create an abusive relationship? How did I do that? That this, what I didn't want. And I needed to go deeper because I couldn't find it alone. And I had help with this to recognize that there was an unresolved traumatic event in my energy system, basically in the region of my womb, of my navel, which attracted a sexual abusive and emotional abusive relationship, that I could feel everything what I was not being able to feel in the past, or what I didn't want to feel. That means when we are in trauma and we are in traumatic surroundings, the safety to feel. So our energy system solves it like that. It freezes the energy, that we can grow up, that we can function. But when there's the safety around, that means that you, in my case, it was my husband didn't want anything from me. And my kids could let me cry. They could let me go through the stages which I went through. When I said to my daughter, mother needs now to cry, because I spoke it out. So this was the process. And these emotions which I safe to feel in childhood and in adolescence could find their way through me. And it took time. I didn't have any control. How long, whenever it would finish. I didn't know anything about that.
So when you say that frozen, I remember that you told me that your mother was frozen and that she died as a frozen person, sort of, no? And that you had the decision, the firm decision to not end up like her. So many people say that, I don't want to be like my mother. I don't want to do like my parents, blah, 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 blah. But then we end up
it's easier. Yes.
Exactly the same thing. So there must have been a moment when you really understood that the danger to become like her.
Yeah, the danger to become like her. And also, my mother went into psychological illness when she was 46. The breakdown was when I was 46. So what I understood from my mother, because she was 26 years in pain, but her understanding, she looked to medicine at the physical level. She never looked at any emotional level. So, and she didn't find the exit. But I was always very, very sensitive, and I could always feel this part in my mother, which was still a child, frozen in the war, in the Second World War. So I also understood that I have my mother in me. So I understood I have to embrace this part of me fully, that I can grow it out. Because I lived 18 years at home, I was entrained to, my mother was the model. And with feminine power, we learned already something different, but I didn't know that on energetical level, she was my model. So I entrained, when I became mother, I was for some time the same to my children as my mother was, till I realized I'm emotionally not present. And life gave me, through the big crisis, through the emotional breakdown, gave me the opportunity to integrate every emotion that I can now today say, I can be fully 100% emotionally present. And this is so much different than my mother was present for me.
Or not present for you.
Or not present for me,
Yeah, that's amazing, this courage, and that you have taken the challenge, to break up all what you did before, to change the country anyway. You were about to do that and do all this, despite of what whoever said or blamed you for doing this and that. And you took it on and did it because you felt that it was right. And I come back to this title we have, A Journey into the Unbroken Heart. It seems to me that you knew that in all the breaks and breakdowns and whatever, there is this unbroken heart.
No, I didn't know it.
You didn't know it.
in this time, I didn't know it. I just had one sentence before I had this explanation that I will feel everything what I ever avoided to feel. My own inner sentence was, I just have to listen to my voice. I just have to listen to my voice. Even I didn't know what it was, but there were so many voices around me who were very loving, but everyone seemed to know what's best for me. Mm-hmm. And they were upset when I said, no, I will not go into psychiatry. I will not go into any daycare. I could not say what I wanted. And maybe this was the issue, because I could just say what I didn't want, because I didn't have words for it, as many times in my life. Feelings, but no words. Therefore, the book is called Unspeakable, because I felt I have in some way to find expression for this, what I was not able to express such a long time. And then the paintings, I have always been painting. So when I paint, I start with the color. I never know what I paint. And this is my language. And then I hang the paintings at the wall and they speak to me. So this is the way how I was coming near, I would say coming near to finding words for that, what I didn't know how to express. And I want to say something else also towards that, because I feel every human being has this part which is unspeakable. And this book is also an encouragement, or is written as an encouragement, especially for women, to express their own unspeakable. To find a way to dance it, to write it, to paint it, there's so many creative ways, but that it comes out into the world. And yeah, I would say I was not planning my breakdown and my story. But now I really can say I'm a happy human being.
That's wonderful.
I'm just showing some more of your pictures here while you are speaking. So if you want, you can continue a little bit, because we cannot see you, because otherwise we can't hear you. So I think it's better when I give a collection of your pictures while you are continue to, if you want to ask her.
No, I really like to continue, because I want to make accessible at this moment, not the details of my story, but just an overview as one story of one woman, because I think we are all connected in every woman. I say women because I'm a woman, so I can speak a lot about the feminine within women. We have our own unique journey in healing these feminine parts of ourselves. And in my case, I can really say that what I was finding out in these 4 years was that my parents were children in the Second World War. So they dealt with unimaginable emotional dramas and traumas within. And their way of dealing with that was to put them down, to really press them down, because I don't know what would have happened if they had been letting them out.
Express them.
So the result was that I was growing up in a very cold family where emotions were not expressed. And I'm a very, very sensitive being. So I felt that something was there, what I couldn't name, what was in some way not right. I would say right from the eyes of a child. Yeah. And I have the feeling I couldn't name it, but there was always this anger within me. And when I was, I think, 13, on the verge of becoming a woman, I felt I didn't know how to deal with that, because I was afraid of expressing things which maybe could hurt, of expressing that what was there under the surface. So I wanted that. I wanted to have my family. I wanted to have my parents. I needed them. So I just chose anorexia nervosa as a way how to deal with that. So I basically was not eating. I was becoming frozen, not letting nothing in, not giving anything out, to be able to live in this dysfunctional family. But it was a way to control myself in that way, that I could just survive. Just survive. And I would say I was lucky that I had the possibility, or I was coming to hospital in a time where nobody knew about anorexia. It was still in the early phases. And since they had no department for me, I came into a department with leukemia, having children. Leukemia, yes. Mm-hmm. So, and I was living with them day in and out, and I could see they didn't have a choice. If they would die or live, they could not choose. So they enjoyed life very much. And I was there, and I understood I want to live. I want to live. This was my decision. I didn't know what that meant, but I wanted to live. And I was always fascinated by expression. So I studied theater, acting, painting, whatever, to express myself. But still, I wanted, still there was something in me what was not nameable. And so I always searched for the expression, but I always felt something is I want to heal something. I want to fix something. I want to change something. And when I was in this breakdown and I felt all these things, and afterwards there was this inner drive in me. I have to express that. It has to see the light of day. Whatever happens afterwards, this has, and this book was literally coming out of my body. I had to bring this energy of my body. I had to bring it out and to speak all this, because all of this, what is in the book, was covered beyond under shame and under unworthiness, under fear to speak my voice, under fear to express my needs. So many women in this time have these difficulties to ask for help, to express the needs, to show ourselves vulnerable. So this book is the result of that, of this urge. I was birthing this book to be radically honest, and also to bring it in the world for others to read or to connect with these things which we don't want to feel, but they are there. And we think they are unlovable. We think we must hide them. We must hide our story to be loved, to look nice, to be acceptable. And in this way, this book was born. And now when I look through it, sometimes I'm just amazed. I was doing that. I was writing that, you know. And it's also the reason why it's here downloadable under the link on the event page, because it's something, I have the feeling it's not my book anymore. It's not in the sense of I have to guard it, to look after it, to just choose whom I want to give it. It has to come out into the world. And I'm very, very thankful that you are inviting me here to speak about that, to make it accessible for people, and to really say, you are not alone with this, with this of your story, which you don't know how to reconcile.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, and especially, you know, not making too much the others for our misfortunes, because you said, I think this is a big insight. You said, otherwise I'm never free, as long as I blame other people for my situation. Whatever has been in your past, and your past was not easy, and many people, not only women, also men, didn't have a very good childhood, let's say, and have all sorts of stuff, but that is not justification to live your own life in misery, blaming others, because who is most suffering is you, who you are blaming. No, you have all this negative outburst towards others. The others can say, okay, boo, but it's in you, and so it's hurting yourself. So you have done the big step after this recognition that taking over the responsibility for what is your life, you can be free. And it was not easy, but and you know what I find so amazing, we wanted 6 years ago, so we wanted to do workshops, and we have done workshops together, and it was not yet clear what your part is and so on. And now I feel this, I feel you're different. I feel this, how is it? A security? It's just clear. You know, you are just clear now with what you are saying. The words, how you say them, they are not anymore asking for permission if it's right or wrong, because they are coming out of another place. And you can really feel that. I mean, we knew you before, and now I feel you, and it's completely different. I don't know, is it for you too?
Sure, and I'm sure that everybody involved in your life can feel the difference in your relationship. Your husband, your children, for example, they must feel much more okay, even though they may not feel okay every moment, but in the relationship with you, I'm sure they feel very secure. So that's beautiful to hear. And I respond to it too. I don't have to take care of you, you know. I don't have to. It's Elena, be careful. She's touchy, you know. Yeah, she might blow up or something. Well, she's not gonna. Or if she does, then it's time for me to grow.
I mean, what comes to me when you say that, Adelaide, I think you remember that I had always this belief I'm crazy. Therefore, I always listen to what others said about me, about the world. I took it, this is right. But this I am crazy I had, because I always felt something underneath, but on the surface it looked different. And so I didn't trust my own perception. And this has changed. I trust my perception 100%. And about that, what you said before about this victimhood, I think every person on this planet has an own pace to come to this point where you want to change, where your suffering is so high that you feel that you want to live, you want to love, and you are starting to search for answers or to search for ways. And in my case, I think because I had such a traumatic childhood, my longing to feel love was always the motivation to go further. What does it mean? What is it, love? I don't feel that in me. I didn't feel that in me. But there was, and I think there is, in every human being, a longing, something what is driving, what is searching, what is never giving up, never. And I think that nowadays, today, in this time, we are coming to this realization that life can't go on like this, even collectively not. And that we have to, everyone speaks about waking up, that we have to find the ways out of others are responsible for me. Because we see the situation on the planet. We see where does it lead when we give our responsibility to politicians or to other people who seemingly have power over us and have the right way. They don't have the right way. And I think there is more than ever now a call for stepping into, I say, radical self-responsibility from the roots and up. And therefore, I think it's, the more I'm living from my heart, the more I have also compassion, because I needed self-compassion for my way. I could not anymore beat me up for feeling bad, for feeling stupid, for feeling shame, for feeling guilt. I had to embrace everything, and self-compassion, I feel, is so important, because now I can extend the compassion to others and to see their struggle in their way, and maybe to say something or to give them a hand. But I also cannot blame anymore women who feel like victims, because this I was also doing before, judging them. Why they let themselves be beaten, in the marriage. Now I understand which part in me was at the same place. And I was really happy. Now I can really say I'm happy that I broke down. Because I was pressed into the birth. Without that, I had a choice.
Elena, I just come here across, I'm showing the picture with this blue flower, and the short poem which is called Breaking Through. And I think we should read that. Do you want to read that?
I can. Breaking through. At the core of our being lives an impulse to live, and an impulse to love. Eternity encoded in a human body, a place of limitless possibility, a never-dying piece of divinity. In the heart lives the spark of the soul, divine love and divine light.
Yeah, this is wonderful. And you had help by a spiritual teacher, didn't you? So, yeah. So I wonder if you can talk a little bit about that. You already said that some people need psychology, some people need just, as you said, 3 months or 3 years lying on the floor and crying or something like this. I'm paraphrasing that a little bit.
Yeah.
But everybody needs something else. But obviously for you, the real breakthrough has happened with a guiding hand. And I always think we need somebody to be there for us, and in some way can also
I'll
be
be there for you.
yeah, husband. Yeah.
Yeah, I can share that. I think after 3 or 4 months, when I just really was lying on the floor, I went to internet again, and I met. He's a spiritual guide. He himself calls himself old friend, and I like that because he has not any wish to be a guru or anything. He's just an old friend, and what he is standing for, or what he is a vibrational catalyst. So he embodies the frequency of divine love to 100%. And when you connect with him, I did it through internet and programs, you connect with this frequency. And everything what is not in alignment with the frequency of divine love comes up. You need to feel it, and it leaves your system. So I had literally over some time, really very, very regularly, meetings with him in internet, through the internet. And since energy doesn't need time and space, it's beyond time and space, I felt the energy when I first met him. I just knew he is my old friend, which was not a mental knowing. It was a body felt knowing. And I walked with him, and I did the programs, and I sat in silence with him or in his meditations. And this was the way to, after the 3 or 4 months where I just lied on the ground, to consciously feel through. This was still not easy. It was still sometimes horrible because the energy of trauma in my body was so high. But since there was somebody outside of me who I felt who was present for me, I just could also let go even more and feel very safe because there was somebody out there. And as you say, Adelheid, I do believe we need somebody. But mostly is it also like that because there is a moment also in my book where I openly say, please help. Because when I was here alone, I tried also to see a psychotherapist. But since I was new in the country, it would have taken around 1 year to come into any contact with anyone. So I just knew life wants me to do it alone, or in this case, I searched somebody in the internet. Better said, I found him. It was not a search. Mm-hmm. And I am forever grateful, really forever grateful. The feeling he could see me. There was no other human being, also not my husband, who knew what I was going through. And it was a very important part to contain this, to not speak it, to explain it, to not say to anyone how I am, how I feel, because there would have been always interpretations from outside. And this process, it was like the cocoon, which needed absolutely be in silence or be with the walls around to be able to hold the energy and to allow the complete breaking down of the old, not knowing what would arise. So, and this I found in Norway. I didn't know anyone except my little family. And then Panache Desai.
That is beautiful. I'm still showing your pictures, and I hope that people who are listening now or later in the recording, I hope they will go to the website thewisdomfactory.net/Elena-Urbanovsky, Urbanovsky. Y. Okay. And Elena is E, not A. Yeah. ELENA, and then dash, then Urbanovsky, and you will be able to download that. And it's a real joy. I mean, you might have seen there are so many of these poesies.
Oh, so many poems.
Poems. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
With 3 languages I go. I mean, it's
Yeah.
for you the same thing now too. We don't know
Yeah.
which is the right word in which language. So you can download it and read it. I found it really only an inspiration, but it's more. I could feel into, 2 things. One, it is your process. I could feel that. But there is like archetypes. It's like there is something in me which has the same
vibration.
Or the same voice, or this, which could have written it too, let's say, in some way, And I think that is an experience which many people would have when they read what you say, independent from the personal story, because your story is practically an example for what so many of us are still carrying with us. And then we have to, make manifestos against, I don't know what, because we are not able
men.
to, against you men, because we haven't found the way to contact these archetypal, let's say, how can I say? I don't want to say archetypal abuse, but in some way it is, because an abuse not only from outside, but from ourselves to ourselves, by not feeling. Yeah, sure, we haven't learned to feel. And in our generation, it was for sure not a big thing. But even today, I have heard in our conversation yesterday, in Sweden now, I don't know how it is in Norway, people have fear to talk about topics like the Me Too movement, because they might be called I don't know, sexist, racist, whatever. And so they, again, shut down of fear that they cannot say what they need to say. So we are not yet over that. And we need really the encouragement to go deep into it, to look what is your life, what is your responsibility, and where does it come from, and what you can do. Elena, I know you are also doing coaching, and how can people find you if they want to contact you and get or some information, or probably a free session, or you do workshops? Is it in English they do workshops?
So thank you, Adelheid, for this question. I do at the moment here in Stavanger workshops in English, yes. Yes. But I also do coaching via Skype, like via internet. And till the moment, I don't have a website yet, because it's always the last on my list. I prefer real life, but I know I will have to do it. You can contact me under my email, which is elfrau.u@gmail.com in English, elfrau.u@gmail.com. And I want to say a last word to that, what you said, Adelheid. I do believe that my story is universal. And I know also now, more than ever, is the time that these things come up and want to find resolution, so that we can own our story. And then we are free to also listen to other stories. And we women then are free to listen to the stories of men. And I find this fundamental.
Yeah. I absolutely agree that they are universal. The little details are different, but the energy is for sure universal. And I find it nice how you say, when we have all that, then we can listen also to men, because I do feel that the men have left themselves behind somehow.
Yeah, we did. Well, why not? Things were great. What's the problem? Yeah, So
we could also say they gave first.
They give what?
To the women first, and now the women can give space to the men.
Oh yes, ladies first. How gallant of us! Yes, sure. But we are touching on men for a moment, and I'm glad we are. We just have a couple of minutes left, is all. But there were men around you all during this process that you went through, and for better or for worse, I'm wondering, do you have any advice for men before we leave?
In relation to what?
Well, in relation to, well, obviously their relationships with women, but also, or to daughters for that matter, but also just in relationship to their self, their own selves and their own growth, and what appears to be necessary at this point in history.
You know what? I think we do an extra session for that, because we are at
let
the
her
top
talk.
of the
Come on.
hour. And then, no, we hope that we have a better connection, or we do a recording, because in the morning the connection was much better. And now in the evening it's not so good. Elena, can you show yourself for the end? And even if you don't understand you, you can say the last broken or not broken
moment.
Nobody will understand her answer to me.
No, but I think it's really a topic we should talk with her about, because this is feminine wisdom can help also men, I'm quite sure.
Yeah. I just say to that, Mark, beginning that men come to my workshops.
Good.
So before just women came, but now it's for everyone, and men starting to come. So yeah, we can talk about that.
Wonderful.
Have another session about that.
Yeah, excellent.
So listen more or hear more about your point of view.
Sure. Mm-hmm. Oh, I do have a point of view?
I hope so.
Oh, I'll have to look. Okay.
Okay, we will do that, and probably offline, and we post it then together with the video from today here. So we might also go through what we have said today, and which didn't come up as well as it could have been. We will check that out, and we will do some repair. Okay, and then talk about these guys here.
That's good.
Thank you very much, Elena, and thank you for the listeners who were there. We were not alone, and that is very nice. And yeah, thank you for your, how can I say, it's not necessarily courage, because you said you just had to, but for the determination to go all the way. That's, I think, what I wanted to tell you.
And it just was a real pleasure to listen to you and hear the new you, the 50-year-old you.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. Thank you all for having me. And thank you, listeners, for, I hope that you have your own story, because I think the world needs to hear it.
Yes.
There are many stories.
And there are now so many platforms. Also, we are creating some where we can share our stories. So if you're ready.
Bye-bye.
Bye.